Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalat, wassalam, wa rasulullah. Welcome to our resilient families in Ramadan, continuing every day through Ramadan, mashallah, alhamdulillah. Every day, different topic, different face to share with you. And today we have the lovely Wiesaal all the way from South Africa, mashallah. Alhamdulillah, another one that's down here in the southern hemisphere with us, where we've got the opposite to the rest of the world in terms of weather and that sort of thing. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, so Weisaal's sharing today is around more the schools and the families, but it all really does impact on families. And I'd like her to share initially a bit about the work she is doing in schools, because she's taken what we've done in the Fit to Focus certification and very she's managed to weave it in, from what I remember of the last conversation we had, but things could have changed since then. But she's managed to weave in this understanding into the work that she does with the kids in a kind of organic and natural way, because what often happens in school environments is you have to follow certain protocols, but that doesn't stop you then weaving this understanding that makes so much difference into that. So I'd love for Wiesaal to share with us a little bit about what she does and how she brings that all together and the difference that makes.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Ramadan Mubarak to all. So, shukran, Sister Catherine, for giving me this opportunity to share my work. So, let me first start off with how I got to be at the school. I was doing my internship. I was doing a counseling course because I wanted to work in schools. So I did the certification that allows me to work in the schools. So then I had to do a process with a psychologist, and I just happened to know this educational psychologist. And as I was doing my that year, it was the same year I was doing my certification. I was doing
Yes.
my counseling and my certification at the same time. And she was asking me about the back to the fitra, and I was explaining to her. So I still remember I was sitting there in my last session, and she got a call from the school, from what I could hear, and they asked her to come in. And then she didn't confirm. But then the next week when I came, she said, you heard the call. Um, I like what I hear that you're doing it back to the fitra. I like what I'm hearing. Why don't you come and help me do the matric workshop? So she's devised, so she's an educational psychologist. She used to be a midwife, then she was a teacher, and then she became an educational psychologist. And now she does, I would say, body practices. So she's developed a workshop, like you say, a protocol, um, very much body based techniques for stress coping, because in the environment that we work in, it's a very hard environment. I would say it's not the soft. I don't get soft cases most of the time. So I suppose in today's work they'll say the nervous system is very dysregulated. So we need to work with strategies that works where the children can feel they can experience the difference. Um, so maybe here I can just bring in, the emotion jar. I have my jar here. So I actually it helps. So Back to the Fitra gave me a, actually a tool to display to them physically how what is happening to them, and how if they connect to the fitra, the potential, the calmness that they already have within them, um, they can settle their thoughts, and then they have clarity, and that's where they can, instead of reacting, they can respond. So alhamdulillah, I was very green. I didn't know what to do. And while I was doing, when I went to the back to the filter programs, um, I used the techniques that Sister Catherine uses with her. It just came into handy. It just, like you say, it flowed naturally. So she's developed the the body-based techniques, the neuroscience about it, and I do the spiritual side and the back to the fitra. So it just flows naturally.
So just to clarify, what we do isn't techniques, it's more the metaphors, isn't the demonstration, and so that's what
Yes.
helps them have clarity around how it works. And one of the things that really, I found really beautiful was fairly early on, you came up with your own metaphor to do with the shell and the mother of pearl, and was using that with the kids. I'd love you to share your own personal metaphor with us because that was beautiful.
I don't have a shell. I do have the jaw, but the
But just
shell.
describe it because I think we all know the
Okay.
mother of pearl and the shell, so yeah.
Okay. So like I said, the students that I normally see, or if anybody works in the school, it would be normally the students that's either coming from discipline, the discipline issue side, or um, they have they come into my room fairly despondent, put it like that. Yeah. Um, the I would say the teachers are stressed. They have their own stresses, so they don't have the capacity to hold the space for this child and whatever struggles they have. Um, so then, Alhamdulillah, the school has seen the need. The principal, bless him, Alhamdulillah, he has said, okay, he understands that he's got teachers that's working at capacity. He understands that there are students that have maybe needs maybe needs extra attention, and therefore he invited me to come and um, work with him. So the first thing I need to do establish with them is that they not how can you say, they're not broken,
Yeah.
or they
Well, that's just really, really important because much of what they're hearing is reinforcing the idea that they are. And so
yeah,
that's why, and
yes,
that's behind why they're despondent, why they're coming to you despondent, because they really feel like they're a write-off because it feels like everybody's written them off. So
yes,
your first job is to counter that, and
yes,
your shell was part of that, wasn't it?
yes. So I have this shell metaphor that I use. So it's I don't know, do you call it a what do you call that? A
I don't know, it was
periwinkle.
one of those beautiful big shells anyway. Was it it wasn't a cowrie shell, was it?
No, we call it a periwinkle. It's covered with black deposits, but
Mhm.
underneath it, it has a mother of pearl. So I have variations. So I'm a sea person, a sea collector. So I have all this. I have one from small, where, and obviously the smaller one, it's clear. You can see the mother of pearl clear, and then it goes to different sizes up till the bigger one. Um, and then
And
in the middle, there's
the bigger one's all covered more with
yes,
all the
black.
calcium deposits and all
Yes,
the other things that have got on top of it. Yeah. What an amazing metaphor of the human experience.
yeah, yeah. So that's what I said. They get it once they get that concept. No matter how hardened or how despondent, once they get it, then it's like it's something clicks, and then they can work. Then the work after that is so easy. So
Mm.
Alhamdulillah. So it reaffirms me that children is very close to the fitra, and they get it quicker than the teachers actually does.
That's
Adults.
true. I've experienced that too. But isn't it beautiful that you're shell collecting and just having a bunch of shells that are in different stages of being having their beauty covered by all of the things that have, latched onto them in their life
Ye
in the sea. can show kids exactly how they got to where they are, but also show them that underneath those deposits is still
Yes.
that really beautiful mother of pearl, and that's them, that
Ye
their fitra is
yes.
underneath that. It's not gone, they're not broken, and that's the key thing, isn't it? And this is what I
Mm.
hear all the time from some of the because you're talking about serious cases, and working with Dr. Bill Pettit, who's a psychiatrist, he shares with us also a lot of very, very serious cases. And the turning point seems to be where they go from despair or defeat to having hope again. It's just
Yes.
recognizing that they're not broken, and
Mm.
that brings about hope. And once you have hope, you can actually make progress.
Yes. Yes. So similarly, if I could maybe just tie it in, my initial or most of my work is to teach stress coping workshops for the matrics.
Mhm.
So there I do it in a shorter space. Obviously, when I do the counseling, it's 4 session we can build up. But the sessions is structured that I've got to work through 100 learners, and I have to work with 5 learners, and I've only got one and a half hour slot. And then um, so what I do is, like you said, the main thing is to move them from they come in there with all the anxieties and the anxiety and the worry and insecurities that they may not make it. So then, first thing we start with a nia, a sincere intention, and then I link to them. I mean, not just for the academic goals, but also we connected to Allah, and then I show to them that how if they connected to Allah, um, and they, how can I say, what do they call the word? They invoke Allah with it, with in their actions, in their intentions, and the sincerity of their heart, no matter how far fetched it might seem, like you explained, um, that Allah is with him, that goal, that we take them from hopelessness to actually to hopefulness. So
Mm,
if I had to give my my workshop a name, it was from hopelessness to hopefulness.
beautiful.
Alhamdulillah.
And that's huge. So you're working at a high needs school, and they rely a lot upon donations to actually function, because it is from, I mean, part of the reason it's high needs is it because it's from a low income area. So when I put up the recording, inshallah, I'll have a link if anyone wants to earn some reward in Ramadan and support the school, inshallah. I think
Allah.
what we before we run out of time, because we're just so fascinated about this, is to sort of segue across to the topic that you came up with, which I'm very interested to hear about. Like, we've been talking about them recognizing their inner strength, but what you want to talk about is a more Ramadan focus, and how fasting, focus, and faith can bring about the inner strength. So we're talking about, kids that are in the worst circumstances, experiencing a lot of very serious issues, and you're talking about bringing them back to their inner strength in Ramadan. I'd love to hear what you want to share with us about that, inshallah.
Okay, so the topic was the inner Ramadan. So for myself, um, as I was thinking about my workshops that I'm doing, I realized that, as I said before, you need a niyyah, you need a sincere intention. That's the
Mm,
start of everything. That's the connection. Otherwise, it's just a goal and it's just your plans. You rely on your planning. But if
mhm,
you want to invoke Allah's grace and mercy and assistance, um, you need to start with your inside your heart. You need to start inside, and you've got to set the intention. So
mhm,
this year, for myself, I try to move my intention away from or move it higher. As I say, I set a high aspiration for myself, a high humor. So instead of from just pleasing Allah, I thought of how about doing things for the love of Allah. So I think
Mm,
there is a dua, but I can't. I think it's inna Allahumma inna asbaha wa hubbak amlan, right? So it says, oh Allah, let me worship you out of love for you
mm,
and keep me in the company of those who love you and
mm.
make me of those whom you love. So
Mm.
that takes it one notch higher.
Certainly
So
does, doesn't it? Yeah.
yeah. So for my students, as I'm asking them to pitch higher than their capacity for myself this Ramadan, instead of the outer things, I started to look within and how can I set a high hima for myself. And that was what my focus is for this. And then to translate it, if you set a high hima for yourself, a high intention, and you connect it to Allah, and you back it up with your sincere effort, then through Allah's grace and mercy, you may not, you may fall, you may you may have slide backs, but Alhamdulillah, Allah will give you or will give you the capacity or assist you with the capacity to reach it. You may not reach it physically, but Allah Ta'ala will assist you. So they say, Inna ma'alum ma biniyat. Allah judges you, your actions by your
Intention.
sincerity.
Yeah.
So He looks at your heart. So
Mm,
for me, this Ramadan, this that that came up a lot for me. So I see many students. I've had done workshops. I probably moved through 20, 30 students this past month already. And I was telling them, and I said, "But Miss, it's it's impossible." And then we spoke about the Ramadan. I said, "But you're already doing it." And
mm,
then you see the light bulb click, and if you
mm,
take it to the, I said to him, and then I'm like, okay, but Miss, we've got so much sabotaging behaviors. That's that's maybe going to keep them from the goal. But when I related to them, I said, that's almost like that last hour before buka time. What do you call it? Where you have to push, where you're at your lowest, where you feel despondent. But you know that you're doing it for not just to please Allah, but if you're doing it for the love of Allah. Because
mm,
seriously, you are putting yourself, you're withholding yourself from yourself. You're not
mm,
feeling the blessings of spirituality. I actually I it's you at your lowest, you're tired, you're hungry, you're
mm,
angry. Um and for me, reminding me that I've got the intention, um I'm worshiping Allah out of love for him, and inshallah if I push through, alhamdulillah, the outcome will be a benefit for me. And that helps me. So I had to relate it to my students, and I've seen, alhamdulillah, that the light bulb clicks for them. Because then it's not about them, it's not about their lack of. Um, it's more about the hopefulness that,
mm,
okay, all I've got to do is show up with my sincere effort, my intention, and my sincerity in my effort. And we don't make it difficult. I said, if you've matric, you've got to feel. It must be a journey that even if you don't s- reach the goals, and obviously there's a plan A, B, and C, um, but it's the journey.
mm,
Um, so you may not reach the academic goals, but you have felt it and you've learned a life skill that you can always apply. Um, and Alhamdulillah, so far I've been there 3 years, and for the 3 years we've reached most students. I was surprised when I've seen so many students and I've seen their academic profiles because I get the profiles, this is at risk, and I'm amazed that we've got so many over the line. And it
Beautiful is that, like, and all it really took, because for some of them you may only ever spend 90 minutes with them, but all it took was giving them some hope
yeah, yes,
and being able to understand things in a way, or being able to express things in a way of how it really works, so they can see
yes,
that there's hope, because they've been given so much misunderstanding about themselves, that they're living in a misunderstanding of themselves, and you're just coming along with a cloth and you're polishing that misunderstanding away. And after it's like you've weakened the layers, they go off and the layers continue to keep falling off. But one thing I think, I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit, but I'm pretty confident you've witnessed this and can share something to it, because you're going through lots and lots and lots of groups of kids, but each session you're relaying the same message, right? But you might have some information about the kids, but there's no way you actually know every single child that's coming in. So you can't intellectually or preemptively figure out the best way to handle those
mm,
kids. But
yes,
because of this intention and grounding, that we talk about it back to the fitra, and just being open to how Allah guides us in the moment, even though it's the same content that you probably share with each group, it comes out in its own beautiful, unique way each time, and it lands exactly how it's meant to land with that group of kids, because we don't actually need to know what's going on for them, because Allah knows, and He's
yes.
guiding us in how to deliver the message to them. So you've been blessed with 90 minutes with some of them, and that's it ever. But with
Mm,
your beautiful intention of wanting to be in a space of doing it for the love of Allah, not just to please Allah, and your understanding of the fact that Allah is guiding you and you can just relax into the tawakkul in the session, can you share a little bit about how you've witnessed that yourself?
in myself.
In
Oh,
your in the work that you've done, like, when because
oh,
what you've shared is about the inner work, and what you've shared is about, that big, really intentional, not just for the sake of Allah, but for the love of Allah. And I guess what I want us to share with people, so they see how powerful it is to be in that state, is
oh,
that you've noticed how Allah guides you to exactly what's needed each session with the different kids that you see.
okay.
Because it's a beautiful example of, if you change the condition within yourself, Allah changes
Yes.
the
Yeah.
condition.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Uh,
yeah, I want to hear your experience of that.
okay, so I must tell you, if I had to say anything that, so I did my counseling, what do you call, my Western counseling, and back to the fitra at the same. And if I had to say what I'm using, maybe 10% and the 90% of back to the fitra, because before I go to, I all I have to worry about is being clear.
Mm,
Um, I don't, I don't, I don't really have to, you know, go and look what paradigm or what I'm using. I don't review that. I just make sure that my heart is clear. I am clear and set my intention, and off I go. And then I will go maybe through 20 students back, because I've only did 4 hours of five, next five. And alhamdulillah, every student group that I get, you get the ones that maybe grasp it, but there's five different personalities. And I'm sometimes amazed at the things that I come up with to connect with them. So if I have boys, they say, okay, but Miss, now how do we? Okay, they'll bring up a study thing. Then I'm like, okay, do you play rugby or soccer or whatever sport? And yes, oh, okay. Then okay, so now you know how it is when you have to. So when they have to know clarity of mind, especially boys, to be in the zone. Then
Mm,
so then I'm, oh, do you play rugby? So yes, what position? Oh, okay, when you have to, position the ball and kick. Oh, miss, yes, that's what it means. So then, the clarity, the connectedness, the guiding,
mm,
they get it. So, but I have to come up with examples that connects to the child, um,
mm.
at end.
But
Um,
and doing that, 'cause you talked about
on
you
the
get
spot.
amazed about some of the things that you come up with, but because we understand that Allah's always guiding us in these moments, we don't have to be worried about, "Will I have the right thing to say?" Do we? Because
No,
that's what happens all the time. Allah is forever providing us what we need for that group,
no,
and
true.
yeah, and so the reason you come up with it is because Allah's guiding you and because you're accepting that guidance and listening to it and following it.
Yeah, in the moment. But I must say, before I finished the certification and as I was doing my, like I said, I would say Western psychology, I was worried. I never thought I would be able to handle even the stress load, or like you're saying, working like that. But when I did, once I finished back to the fitra and I understood um, how we work, Alhamdulillah, it's been not easy, but it's much easier to step out, for me to have stepped out. And I remember the first time I met you, I said to you, um, this is my language. This is how I need to, this is how I want to articulate in my counseling. And Alhamdulillah, it took a few years, but um, really, what you're describing is, it doesn't feel like work.
No, it's a joy actually.
Yeah, yes, it's and to know that I've never had experience. Okay, I did have experience, but the teen sector was not. I come from the ECD and I worked with moms, and so just by a fluke that I got thrown in deep end. Um, and even the first day that I was invited, me and the psychologist, she got called in, and they gave me a group of 5 boys, and from that day it's just been. I think I did 20 students. And so alhamdulillah, I take heart from that. And like I said, back to the fitra, gives you that confidence that you don't have to know or have
Mm,
control, or you have to put your trust in Allah, um, set your intention and work on your clarity, um, and the calmness
mm,
within you. Then you are able, Allah will guide you, whatever comes to you, and how to handle or how to show up. And Alhamdulillah, I trust that so far, Alhamdulillah, whatever's happened, even afterwards, I can leave and say, what if I've said anything, it's from Allah.
mm,
If anything harmful, then it's from me, and I ask. But Alhamdulillah, um, the results so far, and it's not only impacted on the school. So I was only initially invited for the matric, so I used to come in. Then the next year, they invited me to come do sessions, one-on-one counseling sessions. And even so, when I used to do the group workshops, five, Allah's given me the guidance to pick up that maybe there's someone that needs a special, that needs to be invited for a,
mm.
and I don't know how. And luckily, those students that I picked out, those were the students, alhamdulillah, that just needed that extra
I
time.
I think that the key thing with what you're pointing to is when we come back to our fitra, we can recognize those the people who are struggling with their fitra being covered in
Mm,
in a way that is really challenging them. And so I think what you're pointing to is that ability to recognize, and it's from Allah, of course. It's not something in us,
Yes.
but it's because our own coverings have gone away. We can see more clearly. But if we hadn't done that work on ourselves too, we wouldn't be able to recognize
Right.
that.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
that's
Agreed.
that's why that comes up. And so what a beautiful way to work is, as you're working through all the kids, you're able to pick out the ones that needs extra help, and then you get to do that extra help with
Mm.
them. And that is just such a beautiful model, and I hope other schools, pick up a model like that. That would be absolutely amazing, because in a sense, you're giving them all hope, but you're doing a screening process at the same time.
Alhamdulillah, yes. And then further to that, that was so first there was just the group workshop. Second year was the individual students, and then the third year, I had some actually last year I had teachers coming up to me, and
Ah,
requesting, and that was surprising. But they say we've noticed how you work with the kids, or how the kids um, come out, or how they show up. Um, can you help us? To what do you do, or how do you get to see them in that light? So, Alhamdulillah, it's going from, like you're saying, different. The impact is being
mm.
felt in stage like ripples. So, um,
This is why this is something that you're uh, probably not aware of, but we've actually developed a certification called ISEL, so Islamic Social and Emotional Learning. So it's a certification for teachers. So it's basically to teach
mm,
the teachers what they need, so that they can not be a coach like yourself at that level, but so that they can operate with the kids in a way where they understand this. And so the idea being, what we're focusing on is a fitra protective practice.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, like you said, teachers. If people don't have hope, um, if they don't have a hopeful, how can you say, opinion of their students, of the student, um, then the interaction is going to lead to despair. So
Well, they're going to accidentally add covering on the fitra of that child, because
yes,
the child will pick up, even if they don't actually say or do anything specifically to highlight the thinking they have, the child will pick it up. It's
mm,
just like, I think, one way for those of us who live in non-Muslim countries, someone in the supermarket doesn't have to say or do anything for you to pick up that they have an issue with Muslims, that there's Islamophobia, that you just know, you can sense it, you can feel it. Kids will
yeah,
pick that up from their
the energy,
teachers.
yeah,
So there's that, you just pick it up, and so they will be accidentally covering the fitra of those children without realizing it. And that's why um, training the teachers is also incredibly important.
inshallah.
Anyway, we
Yeah.
still we've gone a little over. So what we want to do is come up with, what is the key takeaway you want people listening to this to take away from today? Just one key, really important point.
Okay. Have a high aspiration, a high hima for yourself, um, because that will guide your heart, and it will guide your intentions. Um, and sometimes you may forget, but Alhamdulillah, that sincere intention will bring you back. So, if I could leave you that for Ramadan, for your life, and then always choose hopefulness
Yes.
over hopelessness. For me, that is the key. in everything, whether it's your actions, whether your thought processes. If you go to hope, that is the, you call it, that attracts Allah's mercy and grace to you.
Mm,
And then you always have capacity to do, you not, whereas if you do the opposite, if you dwell in the hopelessness and despair, then you feel stuck. So,
mm,
but if you choose hopefulness, alhamdulillah, you will always find a way out. You will feel positive. There's clarity. And that's what I tell my students. If you let go of the stories and the thinking, when you're in exam, when you're calm and clear, then Allah will guide you. You'll have an inspiration as to what you need to be doing now. So,
mm.
so I can, if I could leave you with that, inshallah, in our lives, a sincere intention and choose hopefulness over hopelessness all the time.
Brilliant,
Inshallah,
absolutely
with
brilliant.
Allah's qudra.
Jazakallah. I really appreciate your time today, Wiesaal, and I've really
Shukran.
enjoyed hearing the work you're doing. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to bless you with the
Inshallah.
opportunity and the ability to keep impacting
Inshallah.
that school. It sounds to me, even though you have just short touch points with students, that the overall impact on the school is amazing because of the fact that you're now having the teachers reach out to you because they're seeing the difference, and that is testimonial to the impact this understanding has. We don't want to claim the impact as our own because, of course, it's
Mm.
all from Allah, but it's through this understanding that it makes such a difference upon Allah. And anyone listening to the recording, please share your takeaway below. But also, if you're hearing something that you want to pursue and you want to learn more about, please do reach out to me and we can have a conversation about it, because this work is so, so important, as you're hearing, um, with every single conversation. But I think this one, because we're talking about such vulnerable kids and the impact you're having with them, it really highlights how important this work is.
Inshallah.
May Allah
Inshallah.
reward you abundantly, sis. And
Inshallah.
don't
Shukran.
forget, we'll put the link here with the recording. So if you do want to donate something towards the school that Wiesaal is at, that would be really amazing, because these kids obviously need this support, or they need the this particular school background, um, and it functions, from being donated to, alhamdulillah. So
Inshallah.
on that note, subhanaka Allahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam. Shukran. Salam.